the ultimate cartoon movie hub. From timeless classics to the latest hits, we bring the best of animation to your screen. Subscribe and join the fun. The movie begins with a very strong storm, and after it ends, we see a box on an island with an advanced robot inside. A family of beavers discovers the robot, and one of them activates it. The robot wakes up and speaks all languages, introducing itself as Rose 7134, made by Universal Company. It explains to the beaver family that it is a personal assistant and asks them to request anything from it. However, the beavers don't understand it. Suddenly, a wave hits and sends it away, and it gets shocked when it sees a big wave coming towards it. It tries to climb the mountain but can't, then sees a crab and imitates it, climbing the mountain and reaching the edge. It is amazed by the beauty of the forest and begins to explore it, looking for anyone to assist. As is clear, the animals are afraid of it and see it as a threat. Rose keeps asking every animal it meets if they need its help, but of course they don't understand it, nor does it understand them. It reduces its movements and learns from them, running like a deer and being amazed when it touches a rock and butterflies fly around it. Suddenly, the animals attack each other like any predator and prey, knocking Rose down until the skunks come, and everyone moves away except Rose. At that moment, Rose activates the learning chip and stays in place, observing the animal's behaviors, actions, and ways of speaking. After a while, it moves again after being able to understand the animal's language and hears them calling it a monster. Despite this, it thanks them for teaching it their language and introduces itself, asking if any of them need help. The elk headbutts it, knocking it to the ground, but Rose gets up again, terrifying everyone, who then run away. Rose climbs to the mountain peak and says it needs to return to the factory. As soon as it activates the transmitter, lightning strikes it. After a while, it wakes up to find its parts disassembled by raccoons, searching for anything shiny. Rose controls its detached hand, hits one of them, retrieves its eyes, and attempts to recover its chip, but gets electrocuted. As soon as it reactivates the transmitter, the raccoons attack it, and one of them takes it, climbing a tree. Rose follows, and all the raccoons tilt the tree, sending Rose flying away. It chases the raccoon with the device until it enters a cave, gets scared, and leaves the device behind. When Rose takes the device, a bear emerges and hits it, causing Rose to run quickly, trying to escape. But the bear is fast, destroying everything in its path and lunging at it. Rose dodges, but unfortunately loses focus, slips, and rolls down the slope, destroying everything in its path until it stops at the edge. When it regains focus, it finds a problem with the power generator. Additionally, it is shocked to discover it destroyed a bird's nest, killing them, leaving only one egg intact with the chick inside still alive. Suddenly, it realizes the egg has disappeared from its hand and runs after the thief fox. It manages to corner the thief on a tree trunk, but doesn't harm it, taking the egg. However, the thief steals it again, and Rose chases it. Unfortunately, it falls from the edge but uses its hand as a hook to climb back and corners the fox on the tree trunk. When the fox eats the egg, Rose retrieves it and sends it flying away. The fox tries to catch it again, but unfortunately, it lands on the porcupine. Rose takes the egg, grabs the fox, and despite its bad actions, removes all the quills and lets it go. As soon as the egg hatches, a small goose emerges, and like any bird, the goose perceives Rose as its mother and approaches it. But Rose places it on the ground, telling it its mission is over, attaches a sticker, activates the transmitter, and sets off to find a signal. Of course, the goose follows it, thinking it's its mother. Every time it moves away, the goose returns. As soon as it activates the transmitter, the goose climbs on its head, destroying it, surprised by its actions. Fortunately, Rose sees a mother possum and her children riding on her back. When they see Rose, they call it a monster and pretend to be dead. Surprised it didn't kill them, they approach it, and the possum mother asks if the little goose is its child. Rose tells her that's not true, and it's impeding its movement, making it impossible to get rid of it. The possum mother explains that the goose sees it as its mother and it must take care of it. Rose explains that its programming doesn't include being a mother and it needs to return to the factory. At that moment, the possum mother tells it that it must help the goose, feed it, and teach it to swim and fly before the end of autumn, or it will die from the cold. As soon as Rose hears the word help, it understands there's a task required of it and postpones its return to the factory. It takes the goose and organizes what it needs to teach it. The possum mother takes her children, bids farewell, and sets off. Afterward, Rose tries to feed the goose but doesn't know what it's supposed to eat, and the fox observes it. Additionally, Rose teaches it swimming by nearly drowning it. But one of the beavers saves it and throws it to her. When the fox sees it confused, it waves to it and introduces itself as Fennec, offering to help. As soon as Fennec understands it will do anything it asks, it decides to exploit it. It tells Rose they need to eat first, making it dig up many roots from the ground. But the goose doesn't eat them, and Fennec does. It also makes Rose imitate the bear, distracting the bees while Fennec steals the honey and also steals a fish from the bear, which chases them, but they escape. At the end of the day, Fennec is full, and Rose blames it because the goose hasn't eaten anything. At that moment, Fennec digs up worms from the ground, and the goose eats the worms happily, making Rose happy because it accomplished its first task. It explains to Fennec that its power generator is broken, and it relies on solar energy. It also tells it that it needs a new transmitter to return to the factory. Fennec tells it that when they encounter a broken robot, they can take the transmitter from it. It places a live lobster in boiling water, fries it, and eats it, explaining to Rose that as creatures they contain both predator and prey. He advises her not to let the goose know that she is the reason for his family's death, or else he will hate her. They continue watching the goose move around, and the algae holds him and tosses him from here to there. At that moment, Fink explains to Rose that the goose is a dwarf and has a growth problem, and even if his family hadn't died, he would have died because he is weak. He tells her that he could eat him if she allows it. He also advises her to build him a house, or else he won't survive. Rose takes him and sets off while carrying branches, passing by animals and seeing a beaver cutting down a giant tree. Fink explains to her that the beaver's name is Paddler and has been trying for years. The goose starts to speak. Rose begins placing branch over branch, building the walls of the house, and the goose helps her, building with small branches. Meanwhile, Fink does nothing at all. After a while, they finish building the house and we see a storm approaching. When Fink asks Rose what she will name the goose, Rose says she will name him Chick Number 1. Fink is surprised and advises her to go beyond her programming and improvise to choose a natural name. When they return home, Rose decides to name the goose Brightbill, and he likes the name very much. The beaver Paddler becomes upset because they copied his house design and disappears suddenly. Brightbill becomes scared and screams, so Fink suggests Rose tell him a story to calm him down and help him sleep. Of course, Rose doesn't know any stories, so Fink takes on the task and starts telling Brightbill a story. He tells him about a little bird living alone on an island, weak and in need of care from its mother. Suddenly, a robot descends from the sky and meets the goose, and this robot surpasses all its programming codes to take care of him. Brightbill calms down as soon as the story ends, and Rose is amazed at what happened. The energy alert goes off and she tells them she has to stop the operation until morning, leaving them and shutting down. Fink goes to sleep next to her with Brightbill, and days pass, and we see that Brightbill has grown and acts like Rose as if he were a robot, which scares the animals away from him. Rose says that this is the same thing that happens with her, and Fink comes and asks Rose to mimic the animals, and indeed, Rose does so, imitating most animals, including the skunk, producing the same unpleasant odor. Then they say they have to try the swimming test today, and Brightbill practices on the chart. Fink takes the opportunity and pushes him off the cliff, dropping him into the lake. Fortunately, Brightbill manages to swim, but like humans, in a somewhat difficult way. Of course, Rose is worried about him and puts her hand in the water in case he needs her help, keeping an eye on him. Brightbill swims until he reaches a flock of geese, and one of them is amazed when she learns that he is the goose raised by a robot. Suddenly, 3 geese come and make fun of Brightbill, saying that he doesn't belong with them and try to drown him. Rose runs quickly to him, and everyone is terrified of her and flies away. Suddenly, a wild fish attacks Brightbill, trying to eat him. Rose runs quickly to him, but her leg gets stuck between 2 rocks and she can't move. However, she throws stones at the fish, trying to distract it. And when the fish is about to attack, she stretches out her hand and grabs it. Of course, Rose is happy because she managed to save Brightbill. The group of geese returns, and they explain to Brightbill that the fish attacked him because he is a dwarf and can never be a natural goose with his size and shape. They make fun of him for thinking Rose is his mother and reveal that Rose is the reason for his entire family's death. This, of course, provokes Fink, who attacks them to eat them. But Rose stops him. Brightbill is shocked by the information he learned, becomes upset, and leaves them. When they return home, we see that Rose's leg is damaged due to what happened in the lake. Brightbill talks to her and asks her to tell him what happened to his family, and if she is really the reason for their death. Rose explains to him that it was an accident and makes him understand that if she had told him, it would have affected him negatively. Brightbill becomes sad and tells her that because of her, he will never be a natural goose, never learn to fly, and never be part of the flock. He becomes very angry and tells her that she doesn't understand and has no feelings, leaving her and walking away. Rose becomes sad and goes to the shore, and fortunately, She finds her catalog and also finds remnants of other robot copies. But most of these parts are damaged and useless until she manages to activate the brain of one of them. She sees a company advertisement and learns that she was designed to help humans, not animals. She gathers the parts together and manages to activate one of the robots, asking it to help her with her mission. She explains to him that she has surpassed all her programming codes and started making decisions from her heart, even though she doesn't have a heart. The robot is surprised and requests to examine her, and when he does, Rose lights up intensely. When the robot finishes, he tells her that she has indeed surpassed all her programming codes and created new algorithms. He explains that she has a malfunction and needs to return to the factory, offering her his transmitter device, which then malfunctions and shuts down. After a while, Fink goes to Rose, who is at the top of the mountain, and tells her that he searched for her everywhere. But Rose places the transmitter in its place and says she has to return to the factory, where they will surely reprogram her. And she is sad because she couldn't help Bright Bill, and it is clear that she misses him. Fink takes the opportunity and tells her that they are in autumn, and they need to teach Bright Bill to fly, or else he will die from the cold. Rose puts the transmitter back and goes to Bright Bill, asking him to allow them to help him. Of course, Bright Bill refuses, but Rose insists on helping him so he doesn't endanger himself and can be part of the flock. Bright Bill reluctantly agrees, and Rose starts explaining the rules of flying with a chart. She also teaches him to spread his wings, and they begin to try. Rose puts him on her shoulders and runs with him, but she falls because of her broken leg. At night, she goes to build a pier. When she finishes, she is surprised to find that she has made a wooden leg for herself, attaches it, and leaves. Rose continues running on her shoulder until he flies, but he is not skilled and falls. Fink gets an idea and goes to ask for help from another bird. In the morning, an eagle comes and makes Bright Bill understand that just because his wings are small doesn't mean he can't fly skillfully, and they both take off. The eagle continues to teach Bright Bill flying, and Rose creates obstacles for them to pass through, and it becomes noticeable that Bright Bill has improved significantly in flying and aerial maneuvers, spending the entire day training with the eagle. A goose introduces himself to Roz as Longo, one of the migration leaders. He explains that he's been observing them for a while and is proud of what she taught Bright Bill. Roz thanks him and asks when they will migrate and if Bright Bill can join them. Longo tells her they will migrate in a week and that Bright Bill can join, but he needs to train for long flights. He advises keeping him flying all day and only landing at night. He is surprised Bright Bill reached this stage despite growth issues and asks Roz to teach him endurance before flying off. Roz starts training Bright Bill, making him swim in the river and carry rocks on his wings. She teaches him to fly in strong winds, pushing him day after day. She has him carry a rock and fly until sunset, landing effortlessly. Later, Roz, Fink, and Bright Bill visit the geese flock, where they are welcomed. Bright Bill expresses happiness about joining the group, explaining that the journey is a gift from Roz to him. He realizes there are no other geese his size due to his growth problem, and acknowledges that the accident that killed his family saved his life. Roz thanks the leader, and the flock flies off, with Roz telling Bright Bill she's happy he's finally with the flock and that she won't be there when he returns. This affects Bright Bill, who asks for one last push before thanking Fink for everything. Roz runs with him through the geese until Bright Bill flies off with them, feeling sad but completing her mission. Despite being a robot, Roz feels sadness. Fink asks her what she'll do now, and Roz says he can return to his normal life. Fink is saddened, suggesting she doesn't need to return to the factory, but Roz explains she's programmed to do so. Fink realizes he'll live alone in his den again and leaves sadly. Winter begins and the animals prepare for hibernation due to an approaching storm. Fink enters his den, and the bear seals himself in his cave while other animals join their families. Roz is alone, activating a transmitter that sends a signal to the company headquarters. Meanwhile, the geese, including a sad Bright Bill, fly through the sky. When they encounter a storm, they seek shelter in a human colony with fields of grain. Bright Bill spots a robot, hoping it's Roz, but it's not her, and many similar robots activate alarms trying to capture the geese. The danger reaches the humans, who notice the geese aren't afraid of the robots. They ask Bright Bill to lead the flock to safety, but a harvester goes out of control, causing chaos. A combat robot appears, attacking the geese with lasers to kill them. Longo instructs the geese to follow Bright Bill, who distracts the robot. Bright Bill skillfully leads the flock, dodging laser attacks, and maneuvers to create an opening in the colony. As they approach the exit, the robot targets Bright Bill, nearly killing him, but Longo intervenes, attacking and distracting the robot. It's unclear who the projectile hits. Roz is surprised to find Fink in her home, explaining she stopped the transmitter to see if Bright Bill would return. Fink is happy, explaining he returned because his den is cold, and the storm is the worst they've faced. Roz realizes other animals are in danger and takes Fink to the forest amidst heavy snow to rescue them. They save animals one by one, returning them to her home to warm them. They rescue many animals, including the possum, skunk, squirrel, badger, hawk, beaver family, and raccoons, turning the house into a sanctuary for all forest creatures. Roz becomes exhausted as her energy depletes, yet decides to rescue one last animal, carrying the bear back to the house. Fink tries to calm the animals attacking each other, but it's futile. Suddenly, Roz enters with the sleeping bear, unable to move, asking Fink to calm the animals. Fink shouts, silencing them, acknowledging they may hate him, but reminding them they're all predators and prey, which is dangerous. If they don't adapt, they'll die from the storm, and thanks to Roz, they're alive. He recalls how they mistreated Roz, calling her a monster, yet she risked everything to save them. Roz speaks, acknowledging their instincts but urging self-control, proposing a truce. The bear agrees, promising not to attack anyone while they're there, and sleeps. The animals gather around, sleeping together, with the possum and Fink beside Roz, who powers down. Days pass, winter ends, and Roz recharges in the sun, rushing to the flock's return from migration. She inspects them until finding Brightbill, relieved he's alive. Everyone is proud of him, acknowledging him as their leader who saved them. Roz is happy he found his place, declaring her mission complete. Fink arrives, pouncing on Brightbill, joyful at his return. Brightbill thanks him, explaining Longo sacrificed himself to save them. Upon learning Roz is still there, Brightbill is eager to talk to her and returns home, but she doesn't find it. We see Rose, who is sad, and suddenly the transmission device starts working, and the company's vehicle arrives to take her. A robot named Vantra disembarks from the vehicle, and its mission is to return her to the factory. Vantra examines Rose, impressed, and tells her she is very important to Universal Company. She explains that Rose was one of 6 robots that fell from the vehicle due to a strong storm. Vantra asks her to board the vehicle to return to the company. Rose agrees and goes with her. Before entering, she hears Finch calling her, saying that Brightbill urgently wants to talk to her. She jumps from the vehicle and goes with Finch. Vantra becomes frustrated, releases combat robots from the vehicle, and orders them to chase Rose. They launch flares to navigate the forest, and a bear comes to help Rose. They run together, and every animal they encounter joins them, and they all stand together. Brightbill arrives but doesn't get a chance to speak with her as the robots surround them from all sides, demanding Rose come with them. She refuses, asserting that this is her home and that she is a wild robot. She howls with all the animals, and they attack the robots, destroying them one by one. When one robot tries to capture Rose, she attacks it with the smell of a skunk, and the bear helps her destroy another. Unfortunately, one robot captures Rose, but she pretends to be dead, and Finch blows it up. The animals rejoice after they manage to destroy all the robots. However, Vantra detonates the robots one by one, setting the forest on fire. Taking advantage of the animals being preoccupied, she manages to take the ship's helm and departs. But Brightbill takes a flock of geese and follows her. The other animals are shocked when they see the entire forest beginning to burn. We switch to Rose, who realizes she needs all her memories because she has developed a very strong system, and what she has learned is invaluable to Universal Company. She understands that she won't remember anything else, and the device starts extracting her memories, but the alarm goes off because of Brightbill and the flock attacking the vehicle. Brightbill flies high, descends quickly, breaks the glass, and enters the vehicle. Despite his broken wing, he searches for Rose and finds her, but she is not functioning. He is deeply saddened, embraces her, and tells her he will always consider her his mother no matter what happens. At that moment, Rose reactivates and tells him she loves him too. She is shocked to see Rose moving in the vehicle, not understanding how her memories weren't erased. We switch to the Hawk, who changes the direction of the cannon, causing it to hit the vehicle and create significant damage. Inside the ship, Rose is able to attack and corner it, explaining that she has to return with them for tests. Rose tricks it, activating the magnet that pulls it. Before it destroys her, Rose tells it that they will keep coming here to take her. As soon as it is destroyed, Rose makes an opening in the vehicle, jumps while holding Brightbill, and the vehicle explodes. Since Brightbill's wing is broken, Rose ejects the generator, places Brightbill in position, seals it, and braces for impact. She transforms into a ball and hits the water with great force. We return to the animals running, scared of the fire that burns everything in its path until they reach Badler and understand they need his help. Badler asks them to apologize because they mocked him for years, and they do apologize. Then, they all unite, pushing the giant tree into the river, changing the water's course. After the fire ends, They all go to Rose, who emerges from the water with Brightbill. All the animals are happy because they are still alive, but unfortunately, their home is destroyed. Rose tells them that the robots will keep coming here to catch her, and explains to Brightbill that when the energy was separated from her and her memories were erased, she was able to hear him thanks to her heart, and she will always remember him. She encourages all the animals, telling them that the most important thing is that they saved her and became united. Finch is very sad and tells her she is his only friend, and he never had any friends before, so he can't be left alone, and he cries. The bear comforts him, saying he can be his friend. Rose is moved and hugs all the animals. They return to rebuild the house, and Rose carves an image of them all on the house. Then, she activates the transmission device, and the vehicle comes to take her, and they leave. Brightbill and Finch miss her very much. In winter, we see all the animals living inside the big house Rose built for them. We switch to the human colony and see Rose working among the robots gathering fruit. Suddenly, Brightbill appears to her, and she holds him, happy that she still remembers, and hugs him. In the end, don't forget to support us with a like and subscribe to the channel to see upcoming videos and also check out the previous videos. Goodbye.